When we think of the Vikings, we imagine fearless warriors. Longships cutting through icy waters and epic battles for glory. But behind these tales of conquest hides a far darker story, one rarely told. For the women captured in Viking raids, survival often meant a fate far worse than death itself. Today, we read pulling back the curtain on the heroic sagas to reveal the brutal reality faced by the forgotten victims of the Viking Age. When Viking raiders struck a monastery, a trading town, or a coastal village, the first victims were often the men. Warriors, priests, and defenders were cut down quickly, leaving behind the most vulnerable, the women and children. But for these survivors, the nightmare was only beginning. They were gathered together like cattle, stripped of their homes, families, and dignity, and forced into a new existence as spoils of war. Imagine the terror, the smoke, the screams, your world torn apart in an instant. And you're now at the mercy of strangers who see you not as a person, but as plunder. After the chaos of a raid, the Viking warriors would divide their loot, and this included the captives. Women were chosen as part of their reward, selected based on their age, beauty, health, and strength. Young women and even adolescent girls were the most prized, destined for a life of forced concubinage or to be sold in the burgeoning slave markets. Some captives were forced into what the Vikings called marriages, but these were marriages only in name. Consent was completely irrelevant. A woman's entire future, her very life, now depended solely on the whims and desires of the man who claimed her. There was no negotiation, no escape, only submission. In Norse society, slaves were known as thralls. On the surface, their duties might seem straightforward, grueling work like farming, cooking, weaving, cleaning, and tending livestock. But for female thralls, the reality was infinitely harsher. They were not only laborers, but also objects of constant exploitation. Many endured relentless sexual abuse, often bearing children who, by law, were also considered slaves, born into the same hopeless cycle. These women had no rights, no voice, and virtually no chance for freedom, unless, by some miracle, they were bought out of slavery or granted release by their owner, an exceptionally rare occurrence. It's a chilling thought, but captive women were a central pillar of the Viking economy. Thralls were a valuable commodity, traded across Scandinavia, Britain, Ireland, and even to the distant markets of the Byzantine and Islamic worlds. In cities like Dublin, which was once a major Viking stronghold, slave markets bustled with captives. Many of these were women stolen from raids across Ireland, England, and Scotland. Arab chroniclers such as Ibn Fadlan and Al-Tartushi left detailed, harrowing accounts of these markets. While the famous Viking sagas glorify raids and heroic deeds, they are eerily silent about the fate of the women they captured. This silence itself speaks volumes, revealing just how common and tragically unquestioned this practice was. It was simply part of the fabric of their world, but small, chilling glimpses remain. The Icelandic sagas occasionally hint at women being carried away after battles. In the Irish chronicles, monks describe entire communities of women being taken and enslaved. Perhaps the most shocking testimony comes from outside Scandinavia. Arab travelers wrote about Viking traders selling women as mere goods. One account even details how women were used as concubines aboard the ships, while en route to be sold, treated as temporary possessions before being exchanged for silver or other luxuries. The vast majority of these women's voices were never recorded. Their stories died with them. They disappeared into Viking households, slave farms, or foreign lands, their identities erased. Their suffering was hidden beneath the grand myths of warrior glory that we still celebrate today. They were the invisible victims of conquest, the forgotten casualties of Viking ambition, their individual tragedies swallowed by history. We remember the names of Viking kings and legendary warriors, but the names of the countless women they enslaved are lost to time. The Viking Age is remembered for its daring exploration, its incredible shipbuilding, and its fearless warriors. But behind the sagas and legends lies this grim and undeniable reality. The wealth, power, and reputation of the Viking world were built not only on raids and plunder, but also on the broken lives and shattered spirits of countless women. For those women, survival was not a victory. It meant slavery, exploitation, and a lifetime of silence. For many of them, a quick death in the initial raid might have been the kinder fate. History is almost always written by the conquerors, by the victors who shape the narrative to their liking. But when we dare to look deeper, to search in the shadows of the official records, we find the stories of those who were denied a voice. And in the shadows of the Viking world, the cries of the captured women still echo powerful and haunting reminders of a brutal past that we must never forget. Understanding this side of history doesn't diminish the Vikings' other achievements, but it gives us a more complete and far more human picture of the past. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a difficult but crucial part of history. If you found this video insightful and want to explore more untold stories from the past, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue to bring these important narratives to light. See you in the next one.